So if someone is saying that email is dead and they're from the music industry, I would say, well, you don't know what it looks like for email to be alive. So I understand if you believe that email is dead because you just have no exposure whatsoever to email marketing that generates revenue, and you don't know how much revenue it actually generates.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast brought to you by Indepreneur.io.
What's up, Indies? Welcome back to the Creative Juice podcast. This is episode 316. I'm your host, Jack McCarthy. With me is Circa, and we're going to talk about why email marketing is dead according to the music industry today. What's up, Cirque?
Not much, dude. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk some smack.
Me too, man. This is a great topic, a really fun one, and it's been a minute since we've addressed the misconception that email marketing is dead amongst our peers in the music industry. But we got an email last week from one of our affiliate partners for the agency who emailed me and said, hey, I sent the agency's website page to a management team and they were immediately turned off and disinterested in working with you guys because they're not interested in email marketing because they said that it's dead. So we wanted to bring this topic back to the show once again to talk about why email marketing still reigns supreme. And if you're not using it, you're probably losing money, hating money, leaving money on the table.
Yeah, well, you're definitely underperforming. I totally understand why someone in the music industry might think email marketing is dead. So let's just start off by saying that like the vast majority of sales that happen online include email communication as a crucial touch point in the journey to that sale. So whether the email sent them to the sales page for an offer they didn't know existed, or whether the email facilitated a follow-up transaction, like if money is being made online, a majority of the dollars that are being transacted are owed to email marketing. And that's not industry specific, and it's not exclusive of industries. So if you're not getting results with email marketing in the music industry, someone is, right? Someone is. For example, like companies offering band merch are definitely using email marketing. So if they're a third-party provider and they've just secured the rights for an artist, like they are using it to sell merch. Tour promoters are using email marketing to sell tickets, as is Ticketmaster and Live Nation. It's just that it has not reached labels and bands and their managers and artists and their managers in a significant way. But everyone else in the industry is using it. So, they don't even represent 80% of the revenue being generated in the music industry. So yeah, just to say that, like, trust me on this, that a majority of revenue online is being generated thanks to email, and that it does not exclude the music industry. That's important to note before we kind of talk about why they might think that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there is another facet to that we don't necessarily need to dive into too much in this episode, but we talked about it a lot when we were unpacking the Billboard Hot 100 artist marketing and what we were seeing in their email marketing. We'll link to that episode in the show notes in case you haven't checked it out. But another reason that you might come across the opinion that email marketing is dead for music is because for email marketing practitioners or tryhards in music, it might be dead to them because their strategy might be bad. And so that it seems really dead and that it's not working, when in reality, for the vast majority of our clients that we work with on email marketing, especially if you have a large audience that you can build a list with and then sell to, you can make a ton of money with email marketing.
Yeah. Someone who was born and broken and bred on the music industry proper, came up maybe working for a larger management firm or managing a smaller artist that they grew to a bigger artist, interfacing with labels and publishers, interfacing with brands for brand deals and bookers and promoters, all these types of people. You're very unlikely to be exposed to email for commerce because all of those people, if they're doing it, are doing it terribly. And a key example of this is that, like, if you go to a majority of the Hot 100 artists websites, that website was probably built by their label and not much thought was put into it. And on that website, there's a form to sign up for an email list. And that form is, first of all, the offer, like why you're going to fill out this form. The offer given to you is get updates or, stay in touch or something very vague and unexciting like that. Also, below that form is an already checked checkbox to opt you into the label's email list. And then if you get an email from the artist, which you're very unlikely to, they actually don't send any emails to these people who sign up for this list. But if you do end up getting an email from the artist, it will be very impersonal, very graphic heavy. And if it does even have a signature, it'll be by like team this artist, team this band. It's not from the person, which is not how any businesses operate. So these large artists and their labels are amassing millions of email subscribers, never emailing them. If they do email them, it's impersonal, sometimes emailing them like aggregated news releases from the label and not the artists.
Oh, dude, I get so many of those in my inbox.
Right. So it would be like Universal will be sending you an email when you signed up for an artist's email list. Just to say that, like, that is not how email marketing is done. So if someone is saying that email is dead and they're from the music industry, I would say, well, you don't know what it looks like for email to be alive. So I understand if you believe that email is dead because you just have no exposure whatsoever to email marketing that generates revenue and you don't know how much revenue it actually generates.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's interesting because that's probably the core reason that the concept of email marketing being dead in music specifically has been carried for many, many years now. I think that that's probably the primary reason that we've heard that from, 2017 to now. I think that's the reason why. It has nothing to do with usage of email by fans. It has more to do with like, well, I haven't seen the effectiveness of it, therefore it's dead to me.
Yeah. Another big reason they might say that is because, like, if you're a business owner and you're marketing online and you see 6-figure, 7-figure sales days because of an email you sent, that really changes your relationship to this concept of email marketing, right? It makes you a staunch advocate for it. But if you've never had that exposure, then you don't really see the appeal of email marketing in general. And so most people operating in the music industry proper have never had that kind of exposure where they really get that eureka moment of, oh my God, this is amazing, right? They've never had a brand experience with email marketing in general. And so thereby they probably have no brand loyalty to it. Another reason is that the music industry, despite the industry participants, not the bands, but the people behind the scenes being very rarely under 30, despite it not like they're not being, these aren't the kids, right? They find themselves by definition, like their job is to be aligned with youth culture. And so they think of themselves as very in touch with Gen Z. And so without looking at the statistics, without really examining the facts behind it whatsoever, they just presume, well, kids don't check email and kids don't use email and they're on their phones all the time. So the best way to reach them is through text marketing, if we're going to do any kind of marketing whatsoever. And there's a deeper problem with that. Like, they have no exposure to email marketing. They have no reason to like it. And then they think text marketing is what kids want. Now, all of these things are untrue, right? Email marketing is insanely profitable. Text marketing does not solve all your marketing problems, and it has a lot of problems with it itself. It is not a replacement for email marketing. It cannot be used in the way that email marketing.
It's a supplement. Yeah.
Right. It's a completely different communication channel. And we could go into, how it's different, but it just can't do the things that email can. And yeah, kids are on their phones, but they check their email 3 times a day on that phone, so text marketing isn't necessarily like the only way to reach them. Just to paint the picture of, like, you're a youth-oriented professional, you have a cursory experience with what the actual like day-to-day youth experience on their phone is, and you exist in an industry where nobody has really felt that magic of what email marketing can do for a business. You've been making a lot of deals, negotiating a lot of contracts, a lot of business to business type interaction. You don't really have a whole lot of contact with customers, and so you don't understand that to reach customers en masse and motivate them to buy something, like, email is a crucial component of that.
Yeah. Maybe it's worth talking a little bit about the younger generation, Gen Z specifically, and email and their email usage and email marketing. The last time we talked about this on the podcast, I talked about a study that said Gen Z users, people that hang out on the internet or that were taking part in a study, were actually saying that they expected to use email more and more over the next number of years. Now, I don't remember what the percentages were, but it was enough to stick in my mind that it was like, oh, these people, this cohort of people, these young kids, the people that every artist and artist team says they want to reach, the youth, is expecting to start using email more than they have been, or expect to start using email more and more as time goes on. And that in and of itself is very interesting. But there's some other email marketing stats that we can talk about related to Gen Z as well.
Yeah. Well, Gen Z, for one, they check their inbox on average 3 times per day on phones mostly, but they are reading through their emails. So they can be exposed to email marketing messages, and they actually take to it quite well, because US Consumer Trend Report basically found that Gen Zers, of them, 53% like getting email marketing from brands at least once a week. For millennials, it's 66.5. For Gen X, it's 63. And for boomers, it's 58%.
Interesting.
Gen Zers, in terms of their, I mean, these are all very close clusters, right? 57, 66, 63, 58. But it's funny that they're closer to the end of the spectrum to boomers than they are to millennials. But just to show you that, like, if anyone's into email marketing, so too are Gen Zers by the stats, right?
Yeah, that's super interesting. Something I noted from a study was the study was asking age cohorts their likelihood of purchasing through email marketing. This was interesting that 37% of Gen Z people that went through this study said that they were either likely or very likely to purchase via email marketing. Now, the larger cohort that was a bit bigger than that was, people who were neutral, not necessarily likely or unlikely, which is interesting, compared to the 25% that were unlikely or very unlikely to purchase. So again, we're looking at buying behaviors here of sometimes a group that doesn't necessarily have purchasing power yet, still saying, yes, I would be likely or very likely to buy from a brand that reached me through email marketing. And that, brand term applies to artists and bands as well.
Yeah. I'm pulling up this other research that was pretty interesting. A study found that Gen Z respondents, 58% of them check their email multiple times per day. 23% say they check their email at least once a day. 27% said they want to receive email from brands daily, as opposed to 58% once per week. And as it turns out, Gen Zers receive about 20 email messages per day, which is much smaller compared to any other age cohort. But Gen Zers are exposed to more social media messages than anybody. So yeah, you're completely crowded out in terms of Gen Z attention on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, so on and so forth, YouTube. There's thousands of messages that are reaching them through those channels. But in email, you're one of 20. And if you write compelling headlines and you craft compelling messages, you're very likely to get not only checked, but read. It's probably the fact that most people make these assumptions about Gen Z and about email marketing in general that actually has resulted in this massive opportunity to reach them through email marketing.
Yeah. Super interesting. What are some other stats that we can talk about related to just email marketing as a whole? I know one that is crazy is just the general ROI on email marketing in general. 4,200% ROI is the average.
And that's held pretty constant.
Yeah, that's held strong for a very long time.
Yeah. 60% of consumers report they've made a purchase as a result of a promotional email. I assume it's actually higher, probably. Email automation on average increases the revenue of a business by over 3x.
We've definitely seen that one. We've definitely seen that one come to play at the agency. We can talk about that later too.
100%. Yeah. And pretty much every brand that uses email marketing says it's a crucial part of their success. Email is unreasonably effective. Just going by the numbers, it is difficult to overstate how important email marketing is to any business transacting online. And since artists are by definition global brands, it is crucial that they use email marketing. It's such a huge revenue opportunity left off the table. And we can go into some personal success stories from the agency that kind of show that. But it represents a sea change in the revenue potential of an artist once they start using it.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to just share a few stories from the agency that kind of underlines that point. And I won't name names of the artist because I don't want to out anybody about their email usage.
God forbid anyone finds out that they're making sales.
Yeah. And during working with us. But just to make a general statement, typically when we work with an artist at the agency, we're working with artists that have large followings. It's typically the types of clients that we work with. And one of the first things that we look at when we're kind of auditing their marketing ecosystem, their fan base, and also what they've been doing in their marketing, their digital marketing, up until the point of working with us, is we see how big is their email list with subscribers, how big is their email list made up of customers, and what's working to pull people onto that list. And very often, there's not a whole lot happening in terms of turning fans into subscribers. And there might be a small or even medium-sized customer list if they've got some kind of e-commerce happening, but it's typically not very big. And this is among artists that have fan bases of 500,000, a million plus across socials. So we're not talking about artists that couldn't have a large list or couldn't have a lot of customers. It's just artists that typically don't when they start working with us. And one of the first things that we often do is we say, okay, we're going to get you a rush of new email subscribers by positioning an offer or early access to a piece of merch or a merch drop or a record release. And then we use that to flood their email list with new people. And then shortly thereafter, within just a week or a few weeks' time, we work to sell to those people. And what often happens in that short period of time is a capital injection into their business. A lot of money, a lot of cash flow just coming in because you've gone from having to squeeze messaging for sales onto social media and hope that the algorithms favor you to do that, to having a one-to-one sort of touch point with your fans who raised their hand just a short time ago to say, yeah, I definitely want to hear about what it is that you're going to be offering to me. What that does is it creates an opportunity to sell to those people in a way that's direct and feels exclusive. And a lot of times it's early access and it's like, you're only going to hear about this through this channel, through this email channel. And it works really well to create cash quickly. And then what we do, and a lot of times I've seen that for a number of our artists create 5-figure or even 6-figure revenue bumps in weeks to months, which is pretty wild. Just a few weeks ago, actually, we had one of our artists,
$30K in a day.
yeah, they did $40,000 in vinyl sales in a day with one email campaign. It's crazy.
They sent an email and they made $40,000.
Yeah, it's nuts. We had another one of our artists back in October. This was before Black Friday was even happening. We ran a sales promotion for a vinyl release again. It was a CD and a vinyl release, actually. And they did $100,000 in a weekend just through email marketing and a little bit of social media posting. A little bit. Primarily, it was email marketing that was driving the push, though. So that's just two examples and kind of the framework that we look at when we're working with artists, especially when we're first starting to work with artists. But then what we do is we build that into processes that we handle, month over month, quarter over quarter to keep that going. And how that differs from what's usually going on in music is, again, pointing back to that Billboard Hot 100 story and research that we did. I believe it was about 2 of the artists that we studied in the quarter span of the research. It was only 2 or 3 of them that ran a sales promotion during that time of all of the ones that we studied. And it was Memorial Day, like one of the biggest retail shopping periods of the year. It's a big time for sales.
Yeah. I think it's important to point out that like someone who's never really been exposed to email marketing might get the wrong impression as to what it actually is. And Jack brought up an important point there, which is our sort of first directive when working with an artist who doesn't have email in place is to make a valuable offer in return for signing up for the email list. So we're talking only strictly about opt-in email marketing, meaning they signed up for the email list. Usually when they signed up, it was to get something. Almost always, that's what we're doing. We want to make sure that there's an offer in place that makes it attractive to sign up. And then we also want to make sure that there's regular communication. Weeklies at best, bi-weeklies okay, monthlies like a bare minimum. That isn't about sales or anything. It's just about saying hello, giving an update, giving some perspective from the artist is ideal. So when fans join these email lists, they're receiving something of value immediately that endears them further to the artist, pulls them deeper into the world. Then they're receiving regular communication from the artist that's not just about, hey, buy this thing. And so when you pepper in messaging throughout that is about buy this thing, it's much more likely to be well received. And there's just constant exposure to the potential of an offer. It's also important to note that we're opt-in only. It's also important to note that you cannot do this on social media. Social media, like, first of all, a majority of your fans probably don't follow you on social media. I know a lot of artists that I'm a fan of, I definitely don't follow on Instagram or anything like that. Whereas the music industry tends to presume that like your entire fan base is located on social media. And when you put a post on there, it's going to reach your entire fan base, which is like categorically untrue. Only real super fans might even follow you on social media. There's many, many more out there who enjoy your music, but just don't really have any reason to follow you on social because they presume they're just going to see videos they can see on YouTube, hear about songs that they can stream on Spotify that Spotify will notify them about. They don't really have any incentive to follow you unless they're like very into popular media and being part of that zeitgeist. Like it's something they talk about with their friends. So there's a large segment of your potential impact that you're just not reaching. You're just not touching them at all. But if any of my favorite artists, if I were to see an offer from them that I can get something exclusive, like a song that's never been released before, or, a concert film that like I just get for free by signing up to an email list, I'm probably going to sign up. And then that artist will have permanent contact with me, despite the fact that like they cannot reach me on social media. I do not follow them. And even if I did, I'm very unlikely to see every post that they make. So it's very difficult to communicate with me when they sign up. When I sign up for your email list as an artist, you now have complete control over the communication in our relationship. You can completely reach me at any time. It's like having my phone number, but you can do it en masse and you can do it with automation. And so, yeah, we're talking about email that's opt-in, value-driven, offer-based, which is kind of what is like best practices in business email marketing.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about this is when done well, especially if you have a fan base that is really rabid about your music and your releases, if you've had wins in the past with selling online and you're wondering how to do more, this is where email really shines. And an opt-in offer can truly be as simple as, I want to make sure you're the first to know about everything I drop. And I'm going to make sure that you get first priority access to whatever it is that you're selling next. 48 hours early access, 24 hours early access. It's crazy to think how simple it can be, but it really truly can. And what's nice about that is that it pre-frames people or pulls in the people they're probably the most likely to buy. So then you've got an email machine that can make you money because it's got people who were most likely going to try to buy anyway, as long as they heard about it. And I think that's the power behind this, is you get to pull that revenue forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another interesting case to bring up, because it kind of illustrates what we just talked about. We had a very viral type hip hop artist, very popular. I would say, what were they streaming, Jack? Like monthly listeners is in the millions, right?
Yeah, in the millions.
Yeah. Came on board, took a shot with us, and they had a large social following, like big enough that, any manager stream. And the first thing we did was we crafted an opt-in offer, like I talked about, something that fans would actually want to sign up for. And I think we got them like 10,000 subscribers like in a week or something like that. Do you know the numbers, Jack?
15,000 in 2 days.
In 2 days, we got 15,000 email subscribers. Now, there are some benchmarks for what an email subscriber should generate in terms of revenue when you're practicing good email marketing on a monthly basis, for most, like for average across all industries, it's about $1.80. On music, it can be a bit on the lower side of the spectrum, but still like significant, right? If you add $15,000 in top line to a business on a monthly basis in 2 days, that's consistent and very achievable. Like that makes a massive shift. And from that point, it really just depends on how many compelling offers that you can make to these people and how rigorously you do it. But that's just to say that we converted 15,000 from that artist's social following into email subscribers in 2 days. If we just kept hammering at it like that can compound and expand. And then we queued up a paid offer, something that they could buy, and we made that offer to them. What were the results of that sales campaign thereafter?
That first sales campaign generated 50,000 in the first week, I believe.
Yeah.
Which ended up being about, by the end, continuing to sell to that fan base with more offers, with additional sales promotions, and shortly thereafter a Black Friday promotion. It ended up being around $250,000 within 6 months' time.
Yeah. So that's almost entirely a credit to, like, would not have been possible without email marketing. And so, like, if you have that kind of experience, you start to really believe in it, right? It shows you like, oh, this is really good. And it's really only the reticence of artists and their managers to go all in on email marketing that limits us in any capacity from generating the maximal revenue benchmarks for artists when they work with us. It is these presumptions that email marketing doesn't work, or that it's cringe, or that it's dead, or that, young kids don't want to get emails and stuff like that really holds us back as an agency from delivering the maximal financial result. But yeah, hopefully that shows you that, like, oh, okay, by focusing on what fans want, trying to achieve that one-to-one communication method, this artist was not doing $250,000 every 6 months from posting, random merch drops on stories. Like, that's not, it is a result that is entirely due to this one-to-one communication channel. That's really not possible any other way. If it became the core of that artist's business, which it did not, but if it did, it would translate into greater ticket sales, greater capacity in all revenue generating fronts, not just merchandise. Coordinating all of your releases, your tours around email marketing, which we have seen with other clients. Once you really get red pilled on email marketing, it kind of becomes the core hub of your revenue generation as a business.
Yeah, for sure. It's really true. I mean, for a lot of our clients, especially the ones that are super bought into email marketing and have active e-commerce going on in their businesses, sales promotions that are going on monthly are adding 4 to 5 figures pretty typically every single month. High 4 to 5 figures, depending on the size of the audience and the size of the list. I'm speaking in generalities a little bit here, but think about over time what that compounds into if you're doing that every single month or every other month. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Money that otherwise wouldn't have been in the business.
So yeah, if you're out there, you work in the music industry, whether you're an artist or a manager or label representative or whatever role you fulfill in the music industry, if you didn't know, most businesses, most industries thrive entirely off of email marketing. It produces the greatest ROI you can possibly achieve with a digital channel, and it changes the dynamic of a business and their customer base, or an artist and their fan base, or a public figure in their fan base. And it unlocks a world of revenue potential that just isn't accessible through any other medium. So hopefully that red pills you on email marketing. It's a very important part of all modern commerce.
Yeah, absolutely. And the coolest part about email marketing, and this is where we can kind of end off on a tactical level, is you can get started so simply. We already mentioned like simple offers for getting people to sign up. We've already mentioned simple ways of structuring a sale or a launch with email. And as far as automations and things like that go, you can start with as simple as abandoned cart, browse abandonment emails. You can build in simple welcome emails that welcome new fans onto the list, pre-frame them to hear from you, and then work to sell them something. And all of those, just those 3 things alone, or those 2 things alone, can work really well to start showing you a use case for email when it comes to making money, which is really powerful. And like Cirque said, that's kind of the first thing that we look to do when we work with clients at the agency, is like not only show them like, hey, we're going to help you make more revenue in your business, but also email marketing is going to help you make more revenue in your business.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about email automation. That's like a step beyond, maybe. Like this is the gateway drug that we've given you, and there's a lot that lies beyond. If I were talking to an artist manager of a larger artist right now, I would say, like, when you come on board with our agency, we'll set all this up for you. But if you leave our agency, one of the other benefits of email marketing is that you own it and you can take it with you wherever you want. It's your fans. And if you were to leave Instagram, you couldn't do that. There is no social graph that's portable over to any other social media network, but there's email lists you can port anywhere. And SMS, you can't actually port now that there's new laws in place. They opted into this specific toll-free number that's provided by this specific provider, and you can't just change numbers and send them messages. It's important to note the unique nature of email in that regard, and to say that as an agency, what we work to do is build you assets that serve your business forever, that you can continue using and that will continue working for you, even if we part ways.
It's the old business adage, dude. The money is in the list. It's true. It's been true, and it will continue to be true.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, this was fun. I hope you guys dug this. Like Cirque said, I hope we red-pilled you about email marketing and maybe just kind of broke some beliefs with some facts and some stories from our world. And I hope you get to email marketing. And if you're interested in building email marketing revenue infrastructure into your artist business or the artist that you work with, hit us up. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to hear more about where it is you're at. Maybe we can partner with you at the agency to help you grow that. So we'll leave a link to the IndieX application in the show notes. Other than that, we'll catch you guys next time on Creative Juice. Peace.
Can y'all really feel the East Coast, feel the West Coast, feel